दोस्तों तैयार हो जाइए महा बचत सेल के लिए। इससे बढ़िया मौका नहीं मिलेगा जहां आप मजे ले सकते हैं बचत के।
मे यू सेव मोर, यही है हमारा वादा।
इस 28 से 31 मई सभी सुपर कोचिंग पर आपको मिलेगा अप टू 90% ऑफ एंड 50% की एक्स्ट्रा वैलिडिटी। ये वो मौका है जहां आप अपने सपनों को साकार कर सकते हैं, आप अपनी ख्वाहिशों को पूरा कर सकते हैं। तो अगर आप तैयारी कर रहे हैं एसएससी, बैंकिंग, टीचिंग, यूजीसी नेट, सीएसआईआर नेट, ईपीएफओ, स्टेट पीएससी, यूपीएससी, डिफेंस जैसे एग्जाम की, तो आइए इस महा बचत सेल में साथ मिलकर धूम मचाएं और अपनी सेविंग्स को यादगार बनाएं।
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Shefali Singla, and in this session, we are going to cover the concept of timestamp based protocols. Uh, we had covered the concepts of transaction and concurrency control, and for concurrency control, we covered the concept of lock based protocols, locking based protocols, in which we covered binary locks, the concept of 2PL, two phase locking, and now in this session, we will be talking about timestamp based protocol. So we have already discussed that what is a timestamp, right? So can somebody tell me that what is a timestamp? Just give me a minute, guys. Actually, this pen is not moving. So anyone having the idea that what is a timestamp? Wait a minute, guys. Uh, Hi guys. So I guess there is some problem with the pen tab. So pen is not working. So let's wait for 5 minutes. Let me fix the issue and then we'll continue with our session. All right. So just give me 5 minutes. Thank you. Resolved. So let's continue our discussion on timestamp based protocol. I just hope that now everything is fine. Can you see the video? Okay. I'm not getting your comments. Those who are following this session live, बच्चे जो लोग इस session को live देख रहे हैं एक बार फटाफट से confirmation दे दो so that I get to know that everything is fine and let's quickly cover the concept for the day. And I hope video is there. Okay. So as we have already discussed that timestamp based protocols are used to support the concurrency and for the concurrent transactions. But if we talk about the difference between the log based protocols and the timestamp based protocols, the major difference is that in timestamp based protocols, there is no option of like getting a deadlock. There is no chance of deadlock, or in simple terms, we can say that टाइमस्टैम्प बेस्ड प्रोटोकॉल्स आर द डेडलॉक फ्री प्रोटोकॉल्स किसी भी सिनेरियो में डेडलॉक नहीं आते हैं timestamp is nothing but this is the unique value which is assigned to each and every transaction ये timestamp assign कब होते हैं जैसे कोई transaction system में enter होती है then a unique value is assigned जैसे आप system का time देख सकते हो like at what time on what date and at what second the transaction has entered into the system that is known as the timestamp. Now we know that no two transactions can enter the system at exactly the same time. Seconds में, microseconds में कुछ तो difference होगा. So that means no two transactions can have the same timestamp value. So each and every transaction will be having the separate timestamp value. So here is the definition. A timestamp is a unique value, a unique identifier or a value which is created by the DBMS to identify a transaction. No two transactions can have the unique value and they are usually assigned in the order in which they are submitted to the system. That means हमेशा ये आपके पास increasing order में होगा. First of all, let's assume that transaction T1 is coming at the timestamp 2. जो transaction T2 आएगी, that for that the timestamp value will be greater than 10. Like it might be entering the system at the time 20. T3, T2 के बाद transaction आई है, it might be like 30. So on the basis of these timestamp values, we can identify that which transaction is older or which one is younger. Older means जो transaction पहले आई है जिसको आए हुए ज़्यादा time हो गया जैसे दुनिया में जो लोग पहले आए हैं they are older than us, right? जो बाद में आए they are younger to us. So here transaction T1 we can say that this transaction T1 out of these three transactions is the oldest one and T3 is the younger transaction. So on the basis of the timestamp value, we can identify the older transaction and the younger transaction. Now, uh, the possible order जो concurrent transactions है किस order में execute कर सकते हैं यहाँ से आपके पास sequence क्या है सबसे पहले T1 आया है after that transaction T2 is coming up then transaction T3 is coming up. So this means that जो आपके पास concurrent schedule का order होगा it should be T1, T2 and T3 or in other terms, if I talk about the possible conflict pairs, here we will be having three possible conflict pairs. What is that? That is T1 to T2. This is one conflict pair. Pehle T1 aayega, then T2. Next conflict pair is, first of all, T1 is coming up, then T3 is possible. T1 to T3. Similarly here, it's T2 to T3. Is there any other possibility? Or koi possibility nahi hai conflict pair ki. So here, three conflict pairs are possible. Okay? Ye clear hua? So basically, this timestamp is nothing but you can think about the timestamp as the transaction start value. Note important point to note here is timestamp has less concurrency than the locking. Reason is here we cannot uh, assign, like we cannot have the concept like share or the exclusive lock. If a person has locked the system for reading purpose, no other person is allowed to read the database at the same time. So timestamp has less concurrency than the locking, but timestamp based protocols are deadlock free protocols because locking protocols have deadlock. So this is about the advantages and disadvantages of the timestamp. Make sense? Now here we will be using two terms. One is the read timestamp, that is I'll be writing this as RTSA. That is read timestamp performed on the data item A. That means this is the highest transaction timestamp value that has performed a read operation successfully. Now, what do I mean by this statement? For example, we have the transactions T1, T2, and T3 with the timestamp values 10, 20, and 30 respectively. Initially, let's assume that no transaction has performed a read operation. So here we'll be writing read timestamp for the data item A is 0. अभी तक किसी भी transaction ने read operation perform नहीं किए. Now transaction T1 is going to perform a read operation. T1 के बाद T3 ने read operation perform किए and after that T2 is performing a read operation. So what we'll do is सबसे पहले transaction T1 has performed the read operation. So we will be updating this value with the timestamp of the transaction T1, that is 10. So read timestamp becomes 10. After that, second read operation is performed by the transaction T3 and its timestamp value is 30. So we'll update the read timestamp value as 30. After this operation, transaction T2 is performing a read operation on the data item A, but its timestamp value is 20. So we won't be updating this read timestamp value. Basically, what read timestamp or write timestamp is representing, this is representing that what is the youngest transaction, youngest means सबसे greater timestamp value जिसने successfully read या write operation perform किए. So that term is referred as the read timestamp or the write timestamp respectively. So here the right timestamp, that means 30 T3 with the timestamp value 30 is the youngest transaction which has performed the read operation successfully. T3 ke baad, although T2 is performing, but its timestamp value is smaller than 30, so that's why we are not updating it here. Okay, same goes with the right timestamp value. Right timestamp is the highest transaction value that has performed. Highest transaction value means maximum transaction value, or we are talking about, we are taking the youngest transaction. Highest transaction timestamp value that has performed a write operation successfully. So write timestamp is initially 0. Same thing we are considering T1, T2, T3. Let's assume this is 10, 30, and 20. No two transactions are having the same timestamp value. It's performing the write operation, then this has performed the write operation, and then this transaction is performing a write operation. Now in this case, first of all, transaction T1 is performing a write operation, so it has successfully written the data item A. So the write timestamp value will be updated to 10. After that, transaction T3 is updating the value. It's writing the data item A, so it's updated to 20 because this is in the increasing order. Then 30 is updating the value. So here the write timestamp value is 30. Make sense? So basically the whole purpose of representing the read timestamp value or the write timestamp value is just to indicate that which youngest transaction, or it represents the timestamp value of the youngest transaction which has successfully performed a read operation or write operation. Make sense? ये दोनों terms clear हुई? And guys, please don't focus on like noting down the concepts while you are understanding the concepts. It will be great if you focus on only on understanding the concept. See, it's completely your choice. It doesn't like going to affect me, but आपकी उससे थोड़ा सा क्या होता है कि ध्यान divert हो जाता है for this purpose, ताकि आपको notes भी मिल जाए, concept भी समझ में आ जाए. So for this purpose, on daily basis, I'm sharing the PDF of all the YouTube sessions. So you can get these PDFs from the Telegram group, that is Shefali Ma'am Testbook. Link of this group is given in the description box. If you want to search for this group, easily you'll get that. So both the ways are perfectly fine, or you can scan the QR code. Apart from this, you can post your doubts or the queries in this Telegram group so that it gets solved उसी टाइम पे जिस टाइम पे आप कॉन्सेप्ट को रीड कर रहे हो. Apart from that, you can directly interact with me. Quiz and polls will also be there in this group, so you can participate in the quizzes and polls. इससे आपको ये पता चल जाएगा कि आपकी preparation कैसे चल रही है. जो topics आप prepare कर चुके हो, whether that preparation is up to the mark or not. अगर आपका score कम है, answers कुछ गलत होते हैं, तो definitely you'll be going to revise those concepts, and this is how you can improve your concepts. Okay. So next we are going to talk about the timestamp ordering protocols. Basically, we'll be talking about basic timestamp ordering protocol and Thomas timestamp ordering protocol. So under the timestamp ordering protocols, there will be three rules basically, because read is not going to form a conflict pair, right? So read से कोई भी conflict pair नहीं आता है. For this, let's consider there is some transaction T1 and T2. Let us consider all the three cases here, T1 and T2. This is T1 and T2. Let's consider the timestamp values as well. So timestamp value is 10, 20. This is case 2 and case 3. 10 and 20, 10 and 20. So on the basis of this, we can identify the execution order. What would be the execution order? T1 is the older transaction. On the basis of the timestamp value, we have identified that T1 is the older transaction. This means that allowed execution sequence is T1 to T2. This is allowed. But अगर T2 आया, उसके बाद transaction T1 execute नहीं कर सकती. Now let's consider a few operations here. Let us assume that T2 has performed a read operation. It has performed a read operation, and after that transaction T1 is going to perform a write operation. Other possibility of getting a conflict pair is T2 has performed a write operation. Then if T1 is performing either the read operation or the write operation, then it is resulting into the conflict pair. Right? Now, if you see here, the execution sequences, this is what? This is T2 पहले initial read perform कर रहा है, and then T1 is going to update that value. So this is T2 to T1. But according to the timestamp values, it is saying that the allowed sequence is T1 to T2. That means T2 to T1 is not allowed. तो कौन rule को obey नहीं कर रहे? T2 तो अपना execute कर रहे हैं, उसके बाद T1 आके इस rule को disobey कर रहे हैं. So whosoever is disobeying the rule, we will simply roll back that transaction. This means that in this case, we will roll back T1 because this is creating a problem. So the solution here is roll back T1. If this is not the scenario, if the timestamp of T2 is smaller than T1, then it is allowed to execute. Or if T1 has issued a read operation instead of the write operation, then also it will be allowed to execute. Okay. Second case is this is forming a conflict pair. Allowed one is T1 to T2. सारे cases में जो हमने timestamp value लिए उसके basis पे we can say that the allowed sequence order is T1 to T2, but here we are getting T2 to T1. Obviously, this is not allowed. It is not allowed to execute. So what we need to do is, since T1 is creating problem, so here also we'll roll back T1. So the main point here is to understand that which transaction will be rolled back. हमें यहाँ पे दो चीजें देखनी है on the basis of the timestamp values. We will identify the allowed execution order, allowed sequence, and जो भी आपके पास operations given है, on the basis of that we will see that what sequence is coming up. If it is matched or if it is satisfied by the allowed sequence, then it will be allowed to execute. If any transaction is not following the allowed sequence, then we have to roll back the transaction. Similarly here we are getting, this is T2 to, I'm so sorry, I have taken the same case, read, write and read. So this is write and write. If it is going to issue the write and write operation, then also this is forming a conflict pair. This is, so here we are getting the sequence as T2 to T1. Obviously, this is not allowed to execute. So this means that problem create की है T1 ने, so roll back this transaction. Roll back T1. I have taken all the three separate cases. These are the cases which are there in the basic timestamp ordering protocol. So I have taken the cases separately. इनको जब एक short में club करके लिख देंगे, that becomes the basic timestamp ordering protocol. Okay, so this is the concept of basic timestamp ordering protocol. If we talk about the Thomas basic timestamp ordering protocol, अगर हम Thomas timestamp ordering protocol लेते हैं, Thomas timestamp ordering protocol, then in that case, or you can say that this is Thomas Wright timestamp ordering protocol. तो सिर्फ एक केस में चेंज आएगा. Difference is in WW also we are roll backing the transaction if it is not satisfied. This is according to the basic timestamp ordering protocol. और Thomas Wright timestamp ordering protocol क्या बोलता है? If this is the scenario, then in this case ignore T1. We won't roll back the transaction T1. Simply we will ignore this transaction T1. This is according to Thomas timestamp ordering protocol. Thomas Wright timestamp ordering protocol. Is this difference clear between these two algorithms or the protocols? Guys, quickly give me the confirmation. So let's quickly go through the protocols. So first of all, timestamp ordering protocol. This is saying that whenever a transaction T issues a read operation, check the following condition. It is saying that the write timestamp is greater than the timestamp of the transaction T1. So basically what it is doing, it is considering the case where the transaction T2 has issued the read operation. This is transaction T1 and this is transaction T2. And the write timestamp is greater than, this is performing the write operation on the data item, and the write timestamp is greater than the timestamp of the transaction T1. So this is creating a problem, but the allowed one is T1 to T2. But here we are getting T2 to T1. So this is basically nothing but this is our case number 2. We have already discussed this case, right? ये दोनों cases, when T1 is going to issue the write operation, then in that case we are having two cases whether T2 has performed the read operation or it has performed the write operation. So if this is the case, in this case, since this is the older transaction, so this will roll back. So in this case, then abort and reject T. Reject T, किसको बोल रहे हैं? Let me call this as T1. According to our example, we are calling this transaction as T1. So reject T and reject the operation. तो इस operation को reject कर दो. Else means this condition is the other way round. Greater nahi hai timestamp, it is greater or equal. That means equal means no different transactions can have the same timestamp, but same transaction means they are having the same timestamp value. Or you can eliminate this equality. Then also it will work. Okay. So then execute, if this is the scenario, if this timestamp value is small, that is 10 and this is 20. So definitely T2 to T1 is allowed. Then execute the read operation on T and update the read timestamp value to the greater value. अगर पहले read timestamp value आई है तो दोनों को compare करो. If this is the younger transaction, then update the read timestamp value. Other cases, T1 has issued a write operation. T1 ने write operation issue किए. This is T1, this is T2. This has issued the write operation. Then we have to check the condition. अगर यहाँ पे write operation है तो हमारे पास दो cases बनेंगे, दो बार conflict pair बनेंगे. At least one of the operation should be the write operation, other can be read or write operation. So T2 might be performing the read operation or the write operation. So if the read timestamp is greater, that is T1 का जो timestamp है, that if the read timestamp of the transaction is greater, that this is 20 and this is 10. Read timestamp is greater than the operation performed by the transaction T1, or if write timestamp is greater than the transaction T1, then abort and roll back this transaction because this won't be allowed and reject the operation. Otherwise, agar timestamp greater nahi hai, then the write operation will be performed successfully, and if it is performed, then definitely we are going to update the write timestamp. Okay, this is about basic timestamp ordering protocol. Advantages of basic timestamp ordering protocol is the schedules produced by basic timestamp ordering are guaranteed to be conflict serializable. यहाँ पे हमने allowed pairs find किए and if it is satisfying the allowed pairs, और यहाँ पे हमने जो pairs find किए basically we are finding the conflict pairs. So that's why we are saying that it is guaranteed to be a conflict serializable schedule. Timestamp protocol ensures freedom from deadlock क्योंकि कोई भी transaction resources के लिए wait नहीं करेगी. So no transaction is going to wait forever. So that's why it's the deadlock free. The schedule may not be cascade free, may not even recoverable. Recoverable क्यों नहीं? Because recoverability के लिए we have one condition, that is we need to check the order of commit. If the dependent transaction gets committed first तो हम बोलते हैं कि the schedule is irrecoverable. But agar main transaction that has performed the right operation, it is getting committed first, then we can say that the schedule is recoverable, right? So here we are not at all considering the order of the commit. हमने commit की बात ही नहीं की है. That means these protocols, this protocol is not free from recoverability. Okay, we cannot take the guarantee that it will be a recoverable schedule or irrecoverable. So that's why I'm writing here the term may not. May का मतलब होता है हो भी सकता है और नहीं भी हो सकता. Okay, so before moving on to Thomas timestamp ordering protocol, let's discuss one question. This is what is given to you. Which of the following timestamp order allowed to execute the above schedule using the basic timestamp ordering protocol? So it's very simple. What we'll do is we will find out the possible conflict pairs here. So we are getting T1 to T3. एक conflict pair आ रहा है हमारे पास, that is T1 to T3. Then is it's performing a read operation on data item B. We want write operation on data item B, but it is performed by the same transaction, so it's not forming a conflict pair. Write operation and read operation on the data item C. This is resulting into T1 to T3. Already we have considered this. Move to the next one. It is T3 to T2. T3 to T2. So these are the two possible conflict pairs that we want to execute the schedule. चेक करो कि इनमें से कौन से satisfy कर रहा है. On the basis of this, we can say that here T1 will be executed first, then T3 and then T2. सीक्वेंस आ गया. दो तरीके, या तो आप यहाँ पे मैप करवा लो. सबसे बड़ी टाइम, सबसे छोटी टाइम स्टैम्प वैल्यू होनी चाहिए T1 की, then T3 की, and then T2 की. T2 should be having the highest timestamp value. So in what case are we getting the highest timestamp value? This is in B. This is one option. दूसरा तरीका क्या है? आपने यहाँ से conflict pairs find किए, यहाँ से conflict pairs find कर लो. This is saying that T1, then T2, and then T3. That means it is resulting into T1 to T2. and T2 to T3 and T1 to T3. But if you observe here we are getting T3 to T2. So this doesn't satisfy here. This is incorrect. Check here. This is T1, then we have T3, and then we have T2. This is the possible order. And आपने check here, so this is matching. Here, problem is T1 is having the highest value. That is, it is going to return the schedule. That is T2, then T3, and then T1. So on the basis of the timestamp value, I'm taking the schedule, and on the basis of that, we are looking for the allowed sequence. So T2 to T3 is not allowed. This is resulting into T2 to T3. This is not allowed because we wanted T3 to T2. Similarly, we'll go here. So I hope that this is clear to everyone. Make sense? Anyone having any doubt? Any problem till this point? So this is about the basic timestamp ordering protocol and one type of question that can be asked on the basis of basic timestamp ordering protocol. Now let's move on to the next one, that is Thomas Wright rule. We have already discussed the difference between Thomas Wright rule and basic timestamp ordering protocol. So kahan pe change aayega? When the transaction has issued the right operation and we are comparing it with the right timestamp. राइट टाइम स्टैम्प दोनों चीजें कौन सी हैं? इट इज राइट एंड राइट ऑपरेशन. Correct? So in this case, we will not execute the right operation and continue. We will simply don't execute means simply we are ignoring the right operation and will continue with the other operations. So this is the difference. Rest everything is same. First one, it is saying that T1 has issued. It's exactly the same. T1 has issued the read operation and the timestamp value of the write timestamp is greater. So in this case, we have to reject the operations and roll back the transaction. Otherwise, we will be executing the operation and we will set the read timestamp value. Whereas in the other case, if the transaction T1 is going to issue the write operation, T2 is performing the read operation or the write operation. अगर read operation perform कर रहे, if it's the read operation, then roll back the transaction. If you are comparing it with write and write, then in that case simply ignore the operation. That's the only difference. हमने बहुत simple way में इस difference को understand किया. Just let me know if it is clear. I have written the difference here, and here is the difference. Difference सिर्फ और सिर्फ इस case में आ रहा है. Let me write here what I had said. अंडर जब आपके पास WW आया, constrict आया, under this scenario, if it's the basic timestamp ordering protocol, if it's basic Thomas timestamp ordering protocol, then roll back the operations of T1. If it's Thomas write timestamp ordering protocol, then in that case simply ignore T1 and continue with the remaining operations of the transaction. Make sense? Anyone having any doubt till this point? So obviously basic right rule is Thomas right rule and basic timestamp ordering protocol. None of these is free from the deadlock. Moreover, it does not ensure recoverability. Serializability ensure. So Thomas right rule is quite you can say that it's equivalent to view serializable, whereas basic timestamp ordering protocol is equivalent to conflict serializable schedule. Because in view serializable or in Thomas right rule, more number of transactions are going to execute. यहाँ पे T1 को हमने roll back नहीं करवाया है. Okay. But we are not dealing with the deadlock conditions. We are just concerned about the recoverability and the serializability. And we have observed that in both the protocols, we are not considering the commit. So this means that basic timestamp ordering protocol and Thomas Wright rule both are not free from or both are not ensuring this recoverability. So in order to ensure the recoverability. I hope that this difference is clear. तो difference सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक ही केस में आएगा. Let me write here clearly T1 and T2. So allowed pair is allowed sequences T1 to T2 because T1 is the older transaction, but according to basic timestamp ordering protocol, T1 will be rollback T1. And according to Thomas Wright timestamp ordering protocol, here will ignore the operation and continue with the transaction. Okay, let us discuss one question. If this difference is clear, तो एक question कर लेते हैं. Let me utilize this space. Allowed pair is on the basis of the timestamp values we got T1 to T2. Okay, one practice question. Let us assume that you are given with three transactions T1, T2 and T3 with the timestamp values 10, 20 and 30. This is representing the timestamp values and the operations are this is performing the read operation, then T3 is performing the write operation, and then T3 is performing the read operation on the data item B, and this T2 is performing the write operation on the data item A, and then it is performing the write operation on data item B. So according to basic timestamp ordering protocol and Thomas Wright timestamp ordering protocol, what all transactions will be allowed to execute? कौन सी transactions rollback होंगी या कौन सी transactions execute होंगी? You have to return that. So question here is, uh, what happens when using basic timestamp protocol? This is case one. And second one is, what happens if you are going to follow Thomas Wright rule? Just give it a try. Wright rule, timestamp protocol. What's going to happen here? Can you identify that? See, according to this one, according to the given timestamp values, we know that allowed sequences T1 to T2 to T3, right? Here we are getting one conflict pair, that is T1 to T2. So according to the given timestamp values, T1 to T2 is not creating any problem. It is allowed to execute. After that, this is write and write. This is write and write. T3 to T2, is it allowed to execute? T3 to T2, this is not allowed to execute. Not allowed, right? And another one is here T3 to T1, even this is not allowed to execute. T3 to T1 is not allowed. But if we look for T3 to T2, जो transaction allowed नहीं है, जो rule को disobey कर रहे हैं, that will be going to roll back. T3 के बाद T2 नहीं आ सकता, that means we need to roll back T2. T3 के बाद T1 नहीं आ सकता, so roll back T1. So in basic timestamp ordering protocol, irrespective of the type of operations, it is going to roll back the transaction. ये check नहीं कर रहे कि जो problem आई है वो write write की वजह से आई है या read write की वजह से आई है या राइट रीड की वजह से आई है, कोई भी प्रॉब्लम आई है, सिंपली ट्रांजेक्शन को रोल बैक कर दो. सो यूजिंग बेसिक टाइम स्टैम्प ऑर्डरिंग प्रोटोकॉल, this is going to roll back two transactions. It is going to roll back two transactions, that is T1 and T2. Whereas Thomas Wright में there is the exception for the right वाला case. तो T3 से T2 वाले में आपके पास दोनों operations right है. So according to Thomas Wright rule, here T2 का जो operation है that will be ignored. So only one transaction will be rolled back, that is read and write वाले operation में time T1 will be rolled back. So according to Thomas Wright rule, only one transaction will be rolled back, that is T1. So this is the difference. This is what we have covered here and implemented on the questions. According to basic timestamp ordering protocol, two transactions are rollback, or in other terms, we can say that less number of transactions are allowed to execute in the basic timestamp ordering protocol. Make sense? So if we talk about the common points, these protocols are not deadlock-free protocols. Both are not deadlock-free protocols. This is point number one. You can take this as a note. Not deadlock-free protocols. Other one is these are not free from starvation. This ensures serializability. Let me write these points somewhere else. Okay. Let me utilize this space. Important points to note here is basic timestamp ordering protocol and Thomas Wright rule. We are talking about the Thomas Wright rule. Point number one, both are deadlock free protocols. Can somebody tell me that what about starvation? Starvation होता है जब कोई transaction जो काफी time तक it is going into the waiting state. It wants the resources, and every time that gets you can say roll back, then it's going for the starvation. That means it is waiting for something and it's not getting that. So is it free from starvation? हो सकता है कि कोई transaction आए, there is some transaction, older transaction that wants to perform some operation, और वो rule को disobey करेगा. अगर younger transactions अपने operation perform करती रहेंगी, older transaction won't be allowed to execute. So every time the older transaction will get rolled back, so it may enter into the state of the starvation. So we can say that both the protocols are not free from starvation. Both protocols are not free from starvation. Any other point? We have talked about the recoverability. So in this case, we cannot say that both the schedules or both are working on the recoverability concept. So we can say that it may not free from irrecoverability. Other point is irrecoverability. Other point is serializability. Serializability means serializability ensure होगी. Definitely, based on serializability will be ensured on the basis of the timestamp value. So serializability is ensured on the basis of timestamp values. So serializability ensure होगी. अब जो second main concern है, that is irrecoverability. So for irrecoverability, what we have to do is, in order to ensure recoverability, we have to put a constraint on the commit. यानी कि अगर किसी भी transaction ने write operation perform किए, then the other transaction should not be allowed to perform or read or write operation. That is the condition for strict recoverable schedule. Same condition we are applying here. A variation of basic timestamp ordering is called strict timestamp ordering protocol. तो variation में क्या है, सिर्फ और सिर्फ basic timestamp ordering protocol में we are going to add the concept of the commit. That ensures the schedule are both strict and conflict serializable. In this variation, इस variation में हमने क्या किया है? If any transaction has performed a write operation whose timestamp value is smaller, then the timestamp of the transaction T1, what I'm saying is, we have the transaction T1 and T2. T2 has performed, T1 has performed a write operation on the data item X. Then the operations of read or write operation of this transaction will be delayed. कब तक delay करेंगे? Until it gets committed. जब तक commit नहीं हो जाता तब तक T2 won't be performing the read or write operation, and this is the condition for strict recoverable schedule. Cascadeless में we were just delaying the read operation, and recoverable में हम किसी operation को delay नहीं कर रहे थे, we were just focusing on the order of commit. तो ये जो condition है, this is the condition for the strict recoverable schedule. So I have used this condition with the basic timestamp ordering protocol, and it is resulting into the strict timestamp ordering protocol. So in this variation, a transaction T that issues the read operation or the write operation on the data item X such that the timestamp value जिसने भी ये operation perform किया है उस transaction की timestamp value is greater. Let me write the timestamp values as well, 10 and 20. Has its read or write operation delayed? दोनों operation कब तक delay करेंगे? Until the transaction T1, let me call this as transaction T1 instead of T dash, तो छोटा सा दिख रहा है. Until the transaction T1 that wrote the values of X has committed or aborted. Make sense? Yes. So this is about the strict timestamp ordering protocol. Because of this thing, we can say that this protocol is going to ensure, it ensures serializability as well as recoverability. All right. Now let's quickly talk about two more rules. One is weight die and other one is wound weight. On the basis of this, definitely we'll be solving the previous year questions. So weight die is, there is a concept of two transactions जिनमें से एक older transaction होगी and other one will be the younger transaction. Let us assume that T1 is the older transaction and T2 is the younger transaction. Older and younger. So weight die is saying that if T1 is the older transaction, अगर older transaction को कोई resources चाहिए which are there with the younger transaction, यानी कि younger transaction उन resources को use कर रहे, then older transaction will wait. Older transaction will wait, but if T2 wants some resources which are occupied by the transaction T1, that means younger transaction को wait करना पड़ रहा है for older transaction to free the resources, then in that case it will die. Die means it will stop its execution and restart later with the same timestamp value. जब कुछ same timestamp value रहेगी, after this there might be the transaction which is coming up. So definitely now if you compare these two transactions, so it will become the older transaction. So that's how it can overcome the problem of the starvation. Okay. So an older transaction is allowed to wait. Older transaction wait karegi. older transaction is allowed to wait for a younger transaction, whereas अगर younger transaction को wait करना पड़ेगा तो if it want the resources, then it will abort its execution and restart later with the same timestamp value. क्योंकि अगर टाइम स्टैम्प वैल्यू भी चेंज होगी देन वी कैन नॉट टेक द गारंटी, बिकॉज हो सकता है कि जो बाद में टाइम स्टैम्प वैल्यू असाइन हो वो ग्रेटर है, तो एवरी टाइम दैट ट्रांजैक्शन रिमेन्स द यंगर वन. So that's why here we are saying that it is going to restart later with the same timestamp value. Moreover, transaction has already entered into the system, so timestamp value already assigned हो चुकी है, so it won't be changing. Here is the summary. Transaction TI हम किसको बोल रहे हैं, जिसकी टाइम स्टैम्प वैल्यू कम है. That means TI is the older transaction and TJ is the younger one. So TI is allowed to wait, older transaction is allowed to wait, whereas younger transaction will abort and restart later with the same timestamp value. Almost similar thing is going to happen in the wound weight. Wound weight में older transaction will wound, किसी को चोट पहुंचानी है, खुद को तो चोट पहुंचाएगा नहीं कोई, है ना. So what will happen? It will wound the younger transaction, यानी कि forcefully ये younger transaction को abort करवाएगा and it will get the resources. Okay, so if older transaction wants some resources which are occupied by the younger transaction, it's just like when you are traveling in a metro or in a public transport. So mostly there are the reserved seats for the citizen, for the senior citizens, right? आप मेट्रो में जाते हो, आपने बाय चांस रश था, आपको नॉर्मल सीट नहीं मिली, यू टेक द सीट ऑफ अ सीनियर सिटीजन or which is reserved for a senior citizen. तो sometimes when the senior citizen comes, तो वो आपको बोलते हैं कि get up, this is my seat. Okay, so that means you have to release the resources, आपको सीट छोड़नी पड़ेगी. Same goes here if a older transaction is coming up. अगर older transaction नहीं है system में, it don't want the resources, तो younger transaction execute करेगा, कोई problem नहीं है. But जैसे ही older transaction आएगी and it wants the resources, so it will move to the younger transaction. A younger transaction is allowed to wait, जबकि अगर younger transaction है, then it will wait for an older one. Whereas if an older transaction requests an item, older transaction को कोई item चाहिए which is held by the younger transaction, then we preempt the younger transaction by aborting it. जब preempt कर दिया तो after some time the younger transaction can restart with its execution with the same timestamp value. So if the older transaction TI is, this condition is indicating that TI is older than the transaction TJ, then TJ will be aborted and it will be restarting later with the same timestamp value. Anyhow, wait day या wound wait है, कोई भी scenario है, it's always the younger transaction that has to get aborted and it will restart its execution later, because obviously the older transactions are having higher priority. So this is the concept of wait die and wound wait. I hope that this is clear to everyone. On the basis of these protocols, we will be discussing the questions in the masterclass. Previous year questions will be covered in the masterclass, and I'll be sharing this PDF in our Telegram group in another 5 minutes. You'll get this PDF, just go through it. So group kaun sa hai? That is Shefali ma'am Testbook. Let me share my screen so that you can see where the link of this group is available. So benefits of joining this group are already there on the screen. Discussions or doubt session में participate कर सकते हो. You can directly interact with me. You can participate in the quiz and polls. All right. Anyone having any doubt? So in total, in today's session, we have talked about 5 protocols. One is the basic timestamp ordering protocol. Then we talked about Thomas Wright rule. Then we talked about the strict timestamp ordering protocol, followed by 2 more algorithms, that is wait die and wound wait. Okay. So now let me share my screen with you guys. Just let me know if it's visible. I guess I'm unable to show it. Not getting that. Anyhow, when you'll go to the description box, जैसे ही आप लोग डिस्क्रिप्शन में जाओगे, इट्स द थर्ड लिंक. Fourth link is actually for joining the super coaching, Gate super coaching. Currently महाबचत sale is going on. तो आपको दिख भी रहा होगा महाबचत sale. So in this we have 1 year plan, 2 year plan and 3 year plan. Up to like 70% discount is there, along with 50% extra validity. आप कोई भी course लेते हो, कोई भी plan purchase करते हो, you will be getting 50% extra validity. That means if it's 1 year course, your subscription will be valid for 1.5 year. If it's 2 year course, your subscription will be valid for 3 years, because it's 2 plus 1. Okay, 2 plus 1. And if you are buying a course for 3 years, then you'll be getting 1.5 year extra. And in order to get this benefit, you can use the code that is Shefali S, that is given in the description box. So this is all about DBMS. We have covered the major concepts of the DBMS. Tomorrow we are going to start with the concepts of algorithms. I guess you guys are familiar with the algorithm analysis. If not, please revise that concept. Tomorrow I'll be talking about asymptotic notations and comparison of functions. Okay. So this will be the agenda for tomorrow's session. If anyone is having any doubt, you can ask. Oh yes, let me tell you that what schedule we are following. So Monday to Friday we are having 2 sessions, one on the YouTube and other one on the master on the Testbook platform, that is the Testbook master class. Timings are fixed for these sessions. Testbook master class. So YouTube session is at 4 p.m. and Testbook master class का जो time है, that is 8 p.m. In the YouTube sessions, we are covering the concepts. We are learning the concepts and implementation and concepts की कर रहे हैं हम master class में. So in the master class, we are solving the questions or practice questions. So basically, आपको maximum benefit कब होगा? When you are joining both the sessions, when you are covering the concepts of both the sessions. Okay, and Saturday and Sunday we'll be having a marathon session. Timing and the link will be updated in the Telegram group, marathon session. And apart from that, I have started taking the sessions on ISRO. जो लोग ISRO में interested है, फटाफट से बेटा forms fill कर दो. ISRO computer science के there are 47 vacancies. अभी भी आप एप्लीकेशन फिल कर सकते हो. इफ यू आर बीटेक पास आउट, आपका मिनिमम एग्रीगेट 65% है, एज 28 ईयर्स से कम है, तो एप्लीकेशन सबमिशन इज स्टिल, और एप्लीकेशन सबमिट करने की डेडलाइन है 14th of June तक. Actually started from 25th of May. It started from 25th of May 2023 and deadline is till 14th of June 2023. Okay. So anyone having any doubt or query? I guess there is no query. So let's end our discussion here. I'll see you at 8 p.m. And in today's masterclass, we will be covering the previous year questions on the database design. That is decomposition, the concept of keys and minimal cover, and applications of attribute closure. ये सारे topics के basis पे जो भी PYQs आए हुए, those will be covered in today's session. कुछ questions हमने कल किए थे, जो बाकी के क्वेश्चंस हैं, बिकॉज कल शायद आप लोगों के काफी डाउट्स थे, सो वी वर नॉट एबल टू सॉल्व मच क्वेश्चंस, but we'll finish all the questions in today's session. Okay, so thank you so much guys. Revise your concepts and see you at 8 p.m. Bye bye, take care.